That, a few hundred miles from where Chinese leader Xi Jinping will roll out the red carpet for President Donald Trump this week, a shadowy ecosystem has long been at work, pumping billions of dollars into Iran's economy, now helping keep Tehran afloat in defiance of the US. These are the ports, pipelines and oil refineries of Shandong province and its borderlands, where the hulking architecture of oil storage tanks and spindly profiles of smokestacks jut up from barren coastal flatlands.
And if you're shopping for your favorite Calbee chips in Japan and see that familiar bag in black and white, it's not a printing mistake. The Japanese snack maker said on Tuesday it will temporarily change the packaging to grayscale and ditch its typically bright and eye-catching colors in stores nationwide because of supply chain disruptions from the Iran war.
That London United Kingdom trust once lost is hard to claw back. For Palantir Technologies, a leading defense and intelligence software firm in the United States, that the trust that the company established in the United Kingdom on a £1 dog won. That 37 National Health Service NHS contract during the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, which translated into a 6-year relationship worth nearly £400 million, 546 metres, has recently eroded. That this has been accelerated in part by Palantir's own conduct.
And we are building the land of Israel and destroying the idea of a Palestinian state, said Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich on Friday, the action that brought on his comments Israel's uprooting of 300 Palestinian planted trees in the occupied West Bank, and the destruction of the trees so that illegal Israeli settlements can expand was one of a number of Israeli actions this week that emphasized Israel's continued push to expand its dominance over the West Bank. And it comes as Israel maintains its violent posture in Gaza, killing at least 13 Palestinians there, with a particular focus on police officers.
That Mexico has cancelled plans to shorten its school year before the World Cup after widespread backlash from parents, think tanks and local authorities, the government said. That, following an outpouring of criticism at an announcement by Education Secretary Mario Delgado that the school year would end about 40 days early, that education and other government officials met on Monday to gather input from parents and consider options at a meeting announced by President Claudia Sheinbaum, who expressed skepticism of the proposed shortening. That British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to face his cabinet as more than 80 Labour MPs have called for him to resign following the party's devastating local elections losses last week. The cabinet is said to be divided on whether he should remain on and will meet on Tuesday. Starmer's chief secretary, MP Darren Jones, told Sky News the Prime Minister was talking to colleagues but was very clear yesterday that he will not be walking away.
And PUBG Mobile faced controversy after players criticised an in-game item called Hand of the Almighty, claiming it contained religiously insensitive wording or references. The company later posted a public apology on X on May 12, 2026, confirming that the item's name had been updated and later removed following community backlash. And One Network has issued an advisory regarding replacement of older M tags ahead of upcoming charges and blocking deadlines. According to the notice, users with M tags older than 5 years can currently replace them free of cost until May 31, 2026. And TCL CSOT showcased several advanced XR display technologies during Display Week 2026 held in Los Angeles last week. The company's presentation focused on displays designed for extended reality applications, including augmented reality and virtual reality devices. And the Pakistan Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission has announced that the new moon of Zil-Hajj 4047H is expected to be born on the 17th of May 2026 at 1:1 Pacific Standard Time PST. At the time of sunset on the 17th May 2026, the age of the new moon will be approximately 18 hours and 30 minutes, with an estimated 60 minutes interval between sunset and moonset along Pakistan's coastal belt. And a renewed campaign by the Municipal Corporation Lahore against stray dogs has triggered controversy, with animal rights activists accusing authorities of using inhumane methods, including poisonous injections, during operations across different parts of Lahore. In recent days, anti-stray dog operations were conducted in Sultan Colony, Township Shad, Bagh, Greentown, and several other areas, following complaints from residents and reports of dog attacks.
At Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump arrives in China on Wednesday for a three-day state visit that is expected to mainly focus on trade and economic ties, but that the U.S.-Iran conflict is likely to dominate the strategic calculations of both Washington and Beijing. That the May 13 to 15 visit, the first by a sitting U.S. president to China in nearly 9 years, comes at a moment when the world's two largest economies are struggling to stabilize relations after months of tariff disputes, that geopolitical rivalry and growing tensions in the Middle East.
And the Pakistan Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission, SUPARCO, on Tuesday forecast that Eid al-Adha was expected to fall on May 27. The new moon of Zilhajj 447H is expected to be born on May 17 at 1:1 a.m., it said in a statement. And Eid al-Adha, by its nature, has elements of flesh and blood as part of the festivities. This year, however, Fahad Mustafa and Mehwish Hayat are taking that up several notches with their latest movie Zombaid. The trailer for the film, which claims to be Pakistan's first zombie thriller, dropped on Monday, showing a mix of guts, gore, and some good old Pakistani humor. And a Filipino senator who oversaw former President Rodrigo Duterte's deadly war on drugs has taken refuge inside the country's Senate hours before the International Criminal Court unsealed a warrant for his arrest. Ronald de la Rosa was pictured fleeing into the Senate on Monday as officers chased after him. He narrowly escaped and was placed under protective custody.
That, accused of neo-colonial meddling in many African countries where it has traditionally had close ties, France is broadening its horizons by co-hosting a summit of African leaders in English-speaking Kenya for the first time. Speaking at the Africa Forward Summit in the capital Nairobi on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron announced investments worth 27 BN, at least 20 BN, in Africa in areas such as energy transition, digital and AI, the maritime economy and agriculture.
And as the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz drives the worst energy crunch in modern history, leading governments to scramble to unload their emergency oil stockpiles, developing countries are among the least prepared to mitigate the shock. Although surging fuel prices due to the fallout of the US-Israel war on Iran have impacted most of the world, import-reliant poorer countries are among the worst affected and the most lacking in energy reserves to cushion the blow. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 35 points as the visiting Oklahoma City Thunder advanced to the NBA Western Conference Finals with a 115-110 victory over the Lakers on Monday, and completing a 4-game sweep in what potentially was LeBron James's final game for Los Angeles. Ajay Mitchell logged 28 points, and Chet Holmgren produced 16 points and 9 rebounds, and Jared McCain added 13 points as the Thunder improved to 8-0 in the playoffs. And Oklahoma City is set to face the Minnesota Timberwolves or the San Antonio Spurs in the next round.
That authorities in Malaysia have launched a search and rescue mission for missing people after a boat carrying 37 undocumented migrants sank off its western coast. In a statement on Tuesday, the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, MMEA, in the state of Perak said local fishermen have rescued 23 people so far, while 14 others are believed to be missing.
And tensions between the United States and Iran remain high, as Tehran warned it was prepared to respond to any aggression, after US President Donald Trump said the fragile ceasefire was on massive life support. Trump on Monday rejected Iran's latest response to his peace proposal, calling it stupid.
That Eurovision, the annual international music pageant watched and adored by millions of viewers around the world, begins this week despite boycotts over Israel's participation. The televised final round of the music contest is scheduled to take place on May 16 in Austria's capital, Vienna, this year, and will mark Eurovision's 70th anniversary. That major private school associations across Pakistan have rejected the Punjab government's decision to announce summer vacations to August 23 for educational institutions. Representatives of the associations termed the nearly 3-month break harmful for the education system and announced plans to challenge the decision in the Lahore High Court, including its Rawalpindi, Multan and Bahawalpur benches. That OpenAI has launched a new cybersecurity tool called Daybreak, which directly rivals Anthropic and its Project Glasswing cybersecurity efforts. According to OpenAI, Daybreak uses several of the company's AI models, including a specialized security agent called Codex Security.
And the Ministry of IT and Telecom is preparing to launch Aerofusion 2026, a national hackathon focused on aerospace, aviation and emerging technologies. The event will be hosted by the National Incubation Center for Aerospace Technologies, NICAT, and aims to bring together students, researchers, innovators and industry professionals to solve real-world aerospace and deep tech challenges. And the Balochistan Assembly on Monday adopted 2 resolutions aimed at reducing taxes on women's hygiene products and strengthening minority representation at provincial and local levels. The resolution on women's hygiene products was jointly moved by GUIF female lawmakers, including Ms. Shahida Rauf, Yume Kulsum, Reman Balok and Kaya Balok.
That the Pakistan Cricket Board, PCB, announced the complete schedule for the President's Trophy Grade 2 Gold 2025-26, which will be played from May 12 to June 21 across Abbottabad, Haripur, Islamabad and Rawalpindi. According to the PCB, the tournament will serve as the qualification pathway for the first President's Trophy Grade I and the List A President's Cup. For the first time, the President's Trophy Grade 2 has been divided into 2 tiers, gold and silver. That a Chinese company said on Monday it had severely punished multiple executives after being rebuked by authorities over an advert joking about infidelity, a demonstration of official sensitivity around declining marriage rates and shifting social mores. China is facing a demographic crisis after its birth rate halved over the past decade, and in response, authorities have heavily promoted traditional family structures.
And Lakai Mawat, 7 people, including 2 policemen, were martyred on Tuesday in a suicide blast in the Serai Naurang Tehsil of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Laki Mawat district. Police said. Laki Mawat district police officer's spokesperson Kudratullah Khan, in a statement, said that at least 23 others were injured after the suicide bomber detonated his explosive-laden 3-wheeler loader rickshaw at the Patak Chowk in Naurang Bazaar, located along the GT road.
That Greg Abbott was planning his summer holiday with half an eye on the Iran war. He intended to stay closer to home in Europe and was lining up a plan B, wary of rising airfares and cancellations. The 54-year-old Britain-based Australian was planning a cycling trip with friends in Austria, a festival in Barcelona, and possibly a yoga retreat in France. But he did not want to go too far and was keeping travel options open.
And Israeli legislators have approved a bill to establish a special tribunal with the power to impose the death penalty on Palestinians accused of involvement in the Hamas-led attacks of October 7, 2023. The bill passed 93-0 in Israel's 120-seat parliament, the Knesset, late on Monday.